The great hall of Zyphora shimmered with colors no human eye had ever seen. Light bent and danced across the tall, crystalline walls, throwing strange reflections onto the faces of the assembled aliens. Some had skin like liquid silver, others had scales that glimmered in hundreds of shades. Towering banners hung from the ceiling, each symbol representing a noble house of the alien court. The room buzzed with whispers, excitement, and tension. Princess Liara stood near the center, her hands lightly clasped in front of her. Her dress, a flowing garment woven from threads that shimmered with living light, sparkled with each movement. She was the future queen of Zyphora, and every eye in the hall was on her. Her mother, Queen Zyphora, sat on the throne at the far end, her many eyes sharp and watchful, her long fingers adorned with rings that hummed softly with power. The air felt electric, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Today was the day Liara would choose her future partner, a union that would determine the balance of power among the alien houses. Every noble present had a candidate, each one strong, powerful, and respected. Their expectations were clear. Liara must choose one of their kind. It had always been that way. It had always been tradition. And yet Liara's heart was not guided by tradition. Among the candidates stood Kale, the human ambassador. He was smaller than the other beings, with simple brown hair and ordinary blue eyes. His suit was designed to impress human standards, but among Zyphora's nobles, it looked almost laughably plain. Many of the nobles stared at him with thinly veiled disdain. Some whispered, pointing their delicate fingers in his direction, their voices like the clinking of gemstones. Liara's gaze found Kale's, and she felt that strange calm that had drawn her to him from the first moment he had arrived. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their courage was something Zyphora rarely understood. Kale had spent months learning their customs, observing their ways, and even solving problems that had left Zyphora's most brilliant minds confused. He was not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most flamboyant, but he was clever, he was brave, and somehow he had won Liara's respect and admiration. The hall grew quiet as Liara stepped forward. Each footfall echoed like a drum, drawing every gaze toward her. Her mother's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of concern crossing her elegant features. The other nobles shifted uneasily, sensing that something extraordinary or forbidden was about to happen. Liara raised her hand. "I have made my decision," she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried across the hall with the authority of someone who did not bend to fear. Gasps erupted. Aliens whispered, some with excitement, others with horror. Princess Liara had never spoken this way before. Her choice was unknown to everyone except her. Slowly, deliberately, Liara pointed toward Kale. "I choose him," she said. The words hung in the air like a storm. Silence fell immediately. Every eye in the great hall turned toward Kale. Some aliens stared as if they had seen a ghost. Others murmured nervously, not sure if they had heard correctly. Queen Zyphora's face changed. She had expected defiance, maybe hesitation, perhaps a clever political maneuver, but never this. Never a human. Her voice was like ice as she said, "Liara, what are you saying?" Liara did not flinch. "Mother, I choose him," she repeated. The court erupted into chaos. Nobles shouted in dozens of alien tongues. Some demanded an explanation, others debated whether such a choice was even legal. A few simply stared, mesmerized by the audacity of it. Kale remained still, his expression calm but alert, aware that all eyes were upon him. He had studied this culture, but nothing could fully prepare a human for a moment like this. One of the largest nobles, a being with 4 arms and skin like polished onyx, stepped forward. "Princess, this is unprecedented. A human cannot fulfill the duties of a royal consort. They are fragile. They lack understanding of Zyphora's ancient ways. Surely you jest." Liara shook her head. "I am not jesting," she said firmly. "I have watched him. I have seen his wisdom, his courage, his kindness. He has faced our tests, helped our people, and solved problems that even our greatest minds could not. I choose him because he is worthy, not because he is like us, but because he is himself." Whispers spread through the hall like wildfire. Some nobles were outraged. Others were intrigued. Kale's presence, once ignored, now drew both fear and fascination. The humans' calm confidence unsettled them. They were unused to beings who did not demand deference yet could inspire respect. Queen Zyphora rose slowly from her throne, her many eyes fixed on her daughter. Her voice was measured but heavy with authority. "Liara, you understand the consequences of your choice. You know the houses may refuse to accept this union. You know the alliances may shift, and some may even declare war rather than allow this. Why risk all of Zyphora's future for a human? Liara took a deep breath. Because, Mother, the future is not just about power or tradition. It is about understanding, trust, and courage. Kale has shown me that humans have qualities we cannot ignore, qualities that may strengthen us rather than weaken us. I will not marry for politics alone. I choose him because he is the one I trust. The Queen's expression softened slightly, though tension still gripped her. Trust, that is a dangerous word in this hall, Liara. Trust has toppled dynasties before. Kale stepped forward carefully, bowing in a gesture of respect that his studies had taught him would honor the court. Your Majesty, Princess Liara, I am aware that I am an outsider. I do not expect your approval lightly. I can only promise that I will honor this court and this princess with every ability I have. I will learn, I will serve, and I will stand by her no matter the challenge. The aliens paused, measuring his words. There was no arrogance, no false humility, just honest determination. Slowly, murmurs of approval began to ripple through some of the younger nobles. Others remained skeptical, but a seed of curiosity had been planted. Suddenly, a loud chime rang through the hall. It was the announcement of the first ceremonial test, the trial of insight. Every suitor had to demonstrate their understanding of Zyphora's laws, culture, and history. Liara's eyes met Kale's, and she nodded slightly. The human nodded back, ready for whatever challenge awaited. The crowd's whispers shifted from outrage to anticipation. Many had expected a boring ceremony where nobles would parade their strength and status. Instead, they were about to witness something entirely different. Kale moved to the center of the hall, guided by the aliens who had been assigned to oversee the trial. He felt the weight of hundreds of alien eyes upon him, each filled with expectation, doubt, and curiosity. Yet he stood tall. He was human, yes, but he had faced countless challenges before. He had adapted, learned, and overcome. Today would be no different. As the first trial began, Liara watched Kale closely. She felt a mixture of pride and anxiety. The court might never accept him, but she believed in the human spirit, in the power of determination, in the ingenuity that defined his people. The trial of insight started with a riddle that had confounded alien scholars for decades. Kale read the inscriptions carefully, noticing patterns the aliens overlooked. He smiled faintly, then stepped forward and gave his answer. A hush fell over the room. One by one, the judges checked their records, then slowly nodded. Whispers of amazement spread. A human had solved a problem that had puzzled Zyphora's brightest minds. Liara's heart swelled with hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, her choice would not only be hers but the beginning of something greater, proof that humanity, small and underestimated, could stand among the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. The first part of the ceremony ended, but the air remained charged. Alliances would be tested, traditions would be challenged, and the princess's choice, seemingly impossible, was only just beginning to ripple through the courts of Zyphora. Outside the great hall, Kale took a deep breath. He had survived the first challenge, but he knew the road ahead would be even harder. Still, he was ready. Humans had a way of rising to challenges that others thought impossible, and now the galaxy would see that for itself. Princess Liara watched him quietly. No matter what they say, she whispered to herself, I chose him. And with those words, a story that would shake the foundations of Zyphora had begun. The morning sun of Zyphora's twin moons glimmered across the palace, sending reflections of colored light over the grand courtyard. Aliens of every shape, size, and color gathered, murmuring among themselves. Princess Liara walked beside Kale, her hand brushing lightly against his, as she guided him to the next stage of his trials. The first ceremony had ended, and Kale had solved the trial of insight. Yet the real challenge was just beginning. The nobles were wary. Some still whispered that a human could never truly belong in their world. Others watched, their curiosity growing. Kale's calm confidence had left them unsettled. How could someone so small in appearance possess such courage and intelligence? Are you ready? Liara asked softly, her eyes scanning the crowd. Kale nodded. I have to be. I did not come this far to back down now. Liara smiled faintly. Remember, they may try to trick you. They do not expect humans to succeed, and that is your advantage. You think differently. The next trial was called the Trial of Strength, but strength on Zyphora did not always mean muscle or size. The challenge required not only physical skill, but clever thinking. Kale would have to navigate a floating maze that changed shape constantly, with paths that could collapse or move without warning. Most of the alien nobles had trained their entire lives for such a test. Kale had only studied diagrams and simulations. As Kale stepped onto the platform, the air shimmered and the maze began to take shape around him. Walls floated into position, shifting as if alive. The audience gasped as aliens of all forms prepared to judge him. Some of the taller, more muscular nobles sneered. They thought a human could never keep up. Kale took a deep breath. He began to move carefully, observing patterns in the maze. He noticed small details the aliens overlooked, a slight delay before a platform moved, a faint glow showing a safe path. Step by step, he advanced, using his intelligence rather than raw power. The nobles whispered among themselves. One of them, a winged being with translucent skin, muttered, He may actually survive this." Others shook their heads, refusing to believe it. Inside the maze, Kale faced sudden gaps and moving walls. He used timing, observation, and quick thinking to leap, dodge, and move forward. Each step required both courage and calculation. Humans had a different kind of agility, a mix of adaptability and persistence, and Kale's determination shone through. Finally, after tense moments, he reached the end. He raised his hand in triumph. The crowd erupted, some in awe, others in disbelief. Liara's eyes glimmered with pride. "That is why I chose him," she whispered to herself. The next trial was the trial of wisdom. Here, Kale would face puzzles designed to test knowledge of Zyphora's history and laws, as well as moral dilemmas that had no easy answers. He was led into a chamber where holographic projections of past leaders and their decisions appeared. "You must choose wisely," said the chief judge, an elder with skin like polished bronze. "Your choices will reflect not only your intelligence but your character. Fail, and you will prove unworthy of the princess." Kale studied the projections carefully. Some choices seemed obvious, but he remembered Liara's advice. The aliens often expected predictable decisions. His strategy was to combine human empathy with careful observation. In one scenario, Kale was asked to allocate limited resources to save either one planet from famine or another from disaster. The aliens expected him to choose the most strategic planet, the one with the strongest military and influence. Instead, Kale found a solution that balanced resources, saving lives on both planets through creative redistribution. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even the judges looked astonished. Kale's human approach, finding a solution outside the traditional options, worked better than the alien methods. It was unconventional, yes, but undeniably effective. Next came the trial of courage. This test was not just about facing physical danger, but confronting fear, something humans did differently from aliens. Kale was placed in a simulated battle against hostile creatures, not real ones, but the illusion was perfect. The creatures lunged, shrieked, and attacked, testing his reactions under extreme stress. Kale's instincts, honed through careful training and calm reasoning, allowed him to maneuver safely, saving both himself and his companions. Where aliens often relied on raw power or overwhelming attacks, Kale used strategy, observation, and quick thinking. His courage was quiet but undeniable. By now, whispers had turned into conversations. "This human," said one elder. "He is unlike anything we have seen." Others nodded, their skepticism waning. Some even looked impressed, though few would admit it openly. Throughout all the trials, Liara remained beside him, silently observing, her heart swelling with pride. She knew that Kale's human qualities, his cleverness, empathy, courage, were exactly what her people needed. Perhaps, she thought, humans were underestimated not because they lacked ability, but because others failed to see their strength. After the trials, Kale was escorted to a large balcony overlooking the palace gardens. The sun reflected off alien flowers, their petals glowing in vibrant, shifting colors. Liara joined him, her dress shimmering in the light. "You did well," she said softly. "Better than I could have imagined." Kale shook his head slightly. "I couldn't have done it without your support. You believed in me when no one else did. That makes all the difference." Liara smiled, but her expression grew serious. "The court will not accept this easily. Even if you passed all trials, many nobles will oppose you. Some may try to challenge our decision, some may even try to sabotage it. You must be prepared." Kale nodded. "I understand, but I will face whatever comes. I did not come this far to turn back now." Humans can endure, adapt, and overcome. That is who we are. Her eyes softened. I chose you because I trust you. Now the challenge is to show everyone else that you are worthy too. As evening fell, the great hall filled again. Today's trial results were announced, and Kale's name rang out first. The human candidate Kale has passed all trials with distinction. A silence fell. Then slowly murmurs spread. Some nobles looked shocked, others were quietly impressed. The chief judge stepped forward, his many eyes scanning the court. It seems that what we thought impossible has occurred. A human has succeeded where we expected failure. Kale bowed, humility and pride mixing in his expression. He knew the road ahead would be difficult. Winning the trials was only the first step. He still had to earn the respect and acceptance of the court, some of whom might never trust him. Meanwhile, Princess Liara faced her own challenge, convincing her mother, Queen Zyphora, and the court that her choice was right. The queen's expression remained stern, though a hint of curiosity now showed in her eyes. Perhaps, Liara thought, the impossible was beginning to feel possible. As the night deepened, the palace gardens glowed with soft light. Liara and Kale walked slowly among the alien flora, their steps silent on the shimmering paths. I know it will not be easy, Liara said. There will be opposition, doubts, and trials beyond what we have faced, but I believe in you, and I believe in us. Kale took her hand gently. Then we face it together. Humans may be small, but we have a way of proving ourselves, one step at a time. Above, the twin moons shone over Zyphora, casting silver light on the palace. Within the walls, whispers of a new possibility spread. A human might not only survive among aliens but thrive. The idea was radical, unimaginable, and thrilling, and Princess Liara had chosen him. The court may resist, the nobles may conspire. But Kale had already proven something important. Humans could endure, adapt, and succeed, even in a world that doubted them. And Liara had made her choice not for politics or power, but for trust, courage, and the promise of a future that might unite worlds. Part 2 ended with tension still thick in the air. The trials were over, but the real test was only beginning. Acceptance. Would the court truly allow a human to stand beside the princess, or would the forces of tradition rise against them? Kale looked up at the stars, determination burning in his eyes. Whatever comes next, I will face it. Humans do not give up. Liara squeezed his hand, silently agreeing. Together they would face the court, the nobles, and the challenges that awaited. And the galaxy would soon see that human courage and ingenuity could shine even in the most alien of worlds. The great hall of Zyphora buzzed with tension. Aliens of all shapes and sizes had gathered once more, their expressions a mix of curiosity, skepticism, and unease. Word of Kale's success in the trials had spread quickly, shaking long-held beliefs. Some nobles were beginning to question whether their rigid traditions were infallible. Others were determined to uphold them at any cost. Princess Liara sat beside her mother, Queen Zyphora, whose many eyes scanned the assembly with a mixture of pride and concern. Liara's gaze, however, was fixed firmly on Kale. Today, the final decision would be made, not only by her but by the council of nobles who had come to judge the human ambassador. Kale stepped forward, his posture calm, though inside he felt a whirlwind of emotions. He had passed the trials of insight, strength, wisdom, and courage, but he knew that earning acceptance from an entire court was far more difficult than any test. Every step he took echoed across the polished floor, and all eyes turned to watch the human who dared to challenge tradition. The chief judge, an elder with bronze skin and hundreds of intricate tattoos that glowed faintly, raised his hand. Aliens of Zyphora, he began, today we witness something unprecedented. A human has faced our trials with skill and courage beyond our expectations. But the question remains, are we willing to accept the consequences of a choice that defies tradition? Murmurs filled the hall. Some nobles leaned forward, intrigued. Others crossed their arms, stubbornly resisting change. Kale held his ground, calm and steady. Liara rose to her full height. I have made my choice, she said clearly. Kale is the one I trust. Not because he is like us, but because he is himself. I ask you, the nobles of Zyphora, to judge not only by tradition, but by what you have seen. The queen's eyes softened slightly. She had never seen her daughter speak with such conviction. Still, the court's resistance was real. Some nobles began to stand, voicing objections. This is absurd, shouted one alien, tall and sharp-eyed, with wings that shimmered like sunlight. A human cannot understand our ways. He will bring chaos to the throne. Another added, "He is weak. How can he protect the princess or guide our people?" Kale stepped forward. His voice, calm but firm, echoed across the hall. "I may be different. I may not have your strengths or your history. But I have something just as powerful: human courage, determination, and the ability to think in ways no one expects. I do not seek to replace your traditions. I seek only to stand beside Princess Liara, to protect her and help build a future where we can all learn from each other." A hush fell over the assembly. Many had never heard a human speak with such confidence. Some looked shocked, others curious. The chief judge leaned forward, studying Kale intently. "Words are easy," the elder said. "But actions prove worth. Can you protect the princess and this court from threats we cannot anticipate?" Kale nodded. "I will, and if danger comes, I will face it. Humans do not give up, even when the odds are against them. I have proven it in the trials, and I will continue to prove it every day." The chief judge's eyes glimmered. "Then we shall see if your courage matches your words. There is one final test, a demonstration of leadership, intelligence, and unity. Should a threat rise, will you protect not only the princess but all of Zyphora?" Before Kale could answer, alarms blared throughout the palace. The walls shimmered as a force field detected intruders. A rogue faction of aliens, long opposed to Liara's progressive ideas, had attacked. They sought to stop the human ambassador from being accepted, to restore the old traditions by force. Chaos erupted. Some nobles shouted orders, others froze in fear. Kale immediately assessed the situation, his mind racing. He spotted weak points in the enemy's formation and calculated the safest way to protect the princess and the court. Liara shouted, "Kale, this way." She led him to the center of the hall, where he could coordinate defense. Humans may be small, but Kale's intelligence gave him an advantage. He quickly instructed guards, both human and alien, guiding them into positions where they could protect the princess and neutralize threats. The intruders advanced, their weapons crackling with alien energy. Kale moved swiftly, using strategy rather than brute force. He directed alien guards to block paths, created safe zones for nobles, and used small traps and diversions to weaken the attackers. His calm presence inspired others. Aliens who had doubted him began to trust his guidance, following orders they would never have considered before. Liara watched in awe. This was the human she had chosen, not because of power or status, but because of cleverness, courage, and the ability to unify those around him. Kale's leadership turned the tide of the battle. The rogue faction was pushed back, their assault failing. The great hall, once chaotic, was now secure. The court erupted into applause and astonished murmurs. The nobles who had doubted Kale now looked at him with new respect. Some even bowed in recognition of his skill and bravery. Queen Zyphora stepped forward, her many eyes reflecting pride and relief. "Kale," she said, her voice strong and clear, "you have shown that your courage, intelligence, and leadership are worthy not only of the princess but of our trust. Today, you have proven that humans can stand among the greatest of our people." Liara stepped forward, her hand reaching for Kale's. "I chose him," she said, her voice carrying across the hall. "I trust him, and now I ask you all to see what I see." The assembly was silent for a moment. Then slowly, nobles began to step forward, one by one, acknowledging Kale's worth. Some were hesitant, but others smiled, impressed by the human's skill and bravery. The court was not completely united yet, but the first step had been taken. Kale bowed deeply to the princess, then to the queen and the assembly. "Thank you," he said. "I will continue to earn your trust every day, and I promise to protect, serve, and stand beside Princess Liara as a friend, ally, and partner." Liara's eyes shone with pride. "You have already begun," she said softly. In the days that followed, Kale continued to work alongside the court, learning their ways while offering human ingenuity. He helped solve disputes, create plans for resource distribution, and even taught new strategies for protecting the palace. Slowly, the aliens began to see humans not as fragile outsiders, but as clever, resourceful allies. The princess and Kale spent long hours together, planning for the future. Their bond grew stronger, based not only on trust but on shared vision. Liara's belief in Kale inspired others, and the idea of unity between species began to spread. One evening, as the twin moons rose high above Zyphora, Liara and Kale stood together on a balcony overlooking the city. The alien lights twinkled like stars, reflecting the hope that had begun to bloom among the people. "You did it," Liara said softly. You proved that humans can be more than anyone imagined. Kale smiled. We did it together. Humans are strong when they trust each other and when they have someone to believe in them. You believed in me and that made all the difference. Liara squeezed his hand. Then we continue together. No matter what challenges come, we face them as one. Humans, aliens, all of us. That is the future I want. Kale nodded. And we will show everyone that even the smallest, most underestimated beings can achieve greatness. Humans have a way of surprising the universe. The Great Hall had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had not only survived, but thrived among aliens, won their respect, and demonstrated the power of courage, intelligence, and unity. Kale's journey had started as a challenge, but it had become a proof of the human spirit. Queen Zyphora approached her daughter and Kale, her expression softened by respect. Liara, you have chosen wisely, and you, Kale, have shown that humanity's heart is as strong as its mind. The future of Zyphora will remember this day. Liara smiled, her eyes shining. This is just the beginning. Together, we can build a world where all species learn from each other, grow together, and face challenges united. The nobles, once doubtful and skeptical, now looked at Kale with admiration. Whispers of change swept through the court. Humans had proved that courage, creativity, and compassion could stand alongside the greatest powers in the galaxy. And as the twin moons cast silver light over the palace, the princess and the human ambassador stood side by side, ready to face the future together. They had won not only the court's respect, but also a place in the hearts of many, showing that even in a universe of vast differences, trust and courage could unite worlds. For the first time in Zyphora's history, a human and an alien princess were not just allies. They were a symbol of hope, courage, and unity. The galaxy would never forget that day. The story of Liara and Kale had only just begun, but their bond had already changed the course of history. And together, they would face every challenge, proving that humanity, though small, could shine brighter than even the most dazzling alien lights.